It is now 7:01. Welcome to the Monday, March 16th, 2026 Town Council meeting. Our meeting this evening will be broadcast live on the Town of Double Oak YouTube channel. Once on the channel, please click on the live button. Out of respect for all those in attendance, please refrain from talking to other members of the audience during the meeting. Silence all electronic devices while in the Cook Wilkinson Community Government Room. I'd like to ask our Town Secretary, Lynn Jones, to please call the roll.
Mayor Johnson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Wallen.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Pro Tem Dietrich.
Here.
Mr. Gortney.
Here.
Dr. Kay. Here. Ms. Smith.
Thank you. Councilperson Gortney will now lead us in an invocation.
Dear Father, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for the cool weather. And Lord, we just want to thank you for this town, for the people in it, and Lord, for those who lead us. Lord, we thank you for the police officers, for the work they do, for the firefighters, for the work they do. Lord, just for all first responders. Lord, we just ask you to bless our meeting, watch over us, guide us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Councilperson Favero will now lead us in the pledges. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you.
Look at that.
All right, first up this evening is item 2, citizen comments, non-agenda subjects. The Town Council welcomes and values citizen input. A portion of each meeting is set aside for comments on non-agenda items, which means topics not listed on the meeting agenda. If your comments relate to an agenda item, you'll have the opportunity to speak when that item comes up. When recognized by the presiding officer, please step to the lectern, state your name and address for the record. Each citizen has up to 3 minutes to speak. Council members will listen closely, but they will not respond or enter into discussion during this time. This is a procedural rule designed to allow everyone a fair chance to be heard and to keep the meeting moving forward. Please also know that all meetings, including citizen comments, are recorded as a part of the town's official record. We ask that all comments be respectful and orderly. Personal attacks, profanity, and disruptive behavior are not allowed. If rules of conduct are violated, the presiding officer will call the speaker to order, issue a warning, or require the individual to leave. If necessary, law enforcement may be asked to intervene. These guidelines are in place to ensure that every citizen has the opportunity to speak in a fair and respectful environment, and that the Town Council meeting remains productive and professional. All right, we've got a few folks here this evening for non-agenda items. First up, Joanne Meyer.
Joanne Meyer, 170 Park Lane. First off, I'd like to make a comment that about the gentleman 2 weeks ago who said that Mayor Donnelly came to him when he purchased his land that one day that would be commercial property. Also, Mayor Donnelly took Pat Wellen and Mike Gortney around town when they were running for office, or at the time they were office, and pointing out different parts of the town that needed help work in roads, drainage, whatever. And then went to that spot and said, and this is our last chance to have commercial property where we can benefit from the tax money we can get from there. My other statement is that after I watched was here for last Wednesday's meeting, we have a high-end developer here wanting to do this. These people have built shopping centers all around the area that we can all see and know and see what they turned out like. I was really impressed what they want to do. I really do like it. I do want it. And I also think that we need to continue to work with them. Yes, tell them what we want and don't want in a dignified way. But if we don't go along with them, everybody has had the what ifs. Well, what if it doesn't work? Well, what if we do this? Or what if that doesn't work? All right, so what if we don't go with them? And what if we get something else comes in there and this is going to be sold? Those people have the right to sell it to whoever they want to sell it to. There could be things come in that we don't want there, and also not bring us a penny in.
Thank you. Mary Johnson?
Mary Johnson, 160 Forest Park Drive. Two important reminders for tomorrow, which is St. Patrick's Day. There's a Double Oak Women's Club meeting, our little mini Epcot. It's a global culinary experience. We also have the Jelly Beans collection from 9 until 11 at the parking lot. We also have a tub inside the town hall if you're not able to meet that time frame. And lastly, regarding the shopping center, I do appreciate that there's been many viewpoints of from the citizens and ask that all citizens to weigh the pros and the cons to fully evaluate the proposed shopping center. In my opinion, there are many positive benefits, primarily lower taxes from the property tax and ad valorem, as well as I feel that the developer has taken much feedback from the citizens, making many changes throughout along the way. They've explained that in great detail. There'll still be more to come as well, but it's certainly something that I think overall has many positive benefits for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Val Herrera?
Val Herrera at 201 Oakview. This may be a kind of a mixed comment here, but the new business agenda may cover all this, but the town ordinances, they're going to be updated maybe if approved. How come that doesn't have to occur before the plan development notion is considered is a question. And I guess a comment about there was a notional a picture of the plan development that showed a sidewalk going down Simmons, and so I'd like someone to review that. It was that notional kind of suggested there would be a sidewalk going down Simmons, and so back to the notion that Simmons is going to be impacted by that new development. And if that sidewalk stops at the edge of the planned development and doesn't go any further, or it doesn't serve the citizens in any way. So I think that street, that road is going to have to be widened and made, developed in such a way that it's just an extension of the planned development itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Val. Bob Brawley?
Evening. Bob Brawley, 200 Simmons Road, right here in Double Oak. I was the guy that Mike Donnelly said that was going to be developed. I knew it going in. The question is, what? We're being told pretty much what. It's still vague. We're not real sure. I think that there's a lot of things to cover. I don't know if the citizens here get an opportunity to have any input on some of the things that they'd like to see in there, like what's going to make people happy to have that there. I primarily wanted to get up and talk about budget, and I've bent the ear on a couple people about this, but I really think that this project should not be what fixes our budget. I really think that we should fix the budget with what we currently have. You can't always plan on making extra money. What if this man turns around and walks away? We have budget concerns now. Fix a budget. Do we need to raise taxes? Do we need to cut? Where do we need to go with this? It's a concern. If something like this comes in, then let's use that for extra money. Let's make some changes in Double Oak. Let's fix some of the drainage. Let's limb trees if they need it. Let's fix a road. Let's put some speed bumps down Simmons. Like, good Lord, we'll help contribute to that. I think everybody on Simmons would. That's my points on the budget. Somebody said high end. I'm not sure that high end is coming in there. Flex. What's flex? You know, that's a giant question mark to me. I think that it's something that's in the future. We don't really know what that is. I think that that's my list for now. Like, those are my concerns. I think that the primary thing is the budget. Work the budget out now. If we have a problem coming up, when's this thing going to start making money? You know, we don't really know. It's, I know when we built our stable, we paid half the taxes when we were within our first year. And then once it was complete, we paid full. You guys know that, but they don't.
Thank you, Bob. Mickey Spagnola.
Mickey Spagnola, 319 East Caruth Lane. As you know, I've been talking about drainage, and I just thought that not many people have ever driven into Caruth Estates. It's people that live there, landscape people, construction people. I'm guessing most of you probably have never driven in there. So I got an idea. I hope you allow me to do it. I've been told a picture's worth 1,000 words. Maybe these pictures I have here will help you understand the drainage problem. And it's not the drainage problem anybody causes, it was the development that caused it. And I heard about the drainage from the developers. There were detention ponds, and they were talking about 100-year floods they're concerned about. I'm concerned about last week's flood. And so if I can, I would like to pass these out to you. I'll take up my 2 minutes passing them out and let you really understand
If you can give them to Chris and he'll distribute them.
that when we talk floods, I'm talking a foot or two of water. And I think those things, if you would pass them out to everybody, you would have a better idea of what we're talking about. Just Saturday, one of the trees in the Flume area, it got uprooted because the ground's so saturated from water and fell on the peoples who are on that side on their fence. And it was a big old tree. And to talk about what Bob just pointed out, I kind of walked the area, the topography of where this shopping center is supposed to go. We're years away from making money off of that. By the time they fix that land and everything, if we have a budget problem, I bet it's 2-3 years before you start collecting taxes from those organizations. So like he said, if we got that problem, we should fix it now. And I'll just let you pass those things around for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Gene Hillier.
Jean Hillier, 170 Trailing Oaks Drive. A couple things real quickly. I brought this up last Wednesday, but I'm bringing it up again regarding the potential for alcohol sales, whether it be in a grocery store or any other establishment in that proposed development. I believe it's incumbent upon the town whether it's the mayor or somebody else, to consult with our town attorney and understand exactly what that means, since we are currently a dry town. The citizens deserve to know what, if anything, they get to do in involvement with that, and certainly the developer should be able to know. It's my understanding that most of the large grocery chains sell beer and liquor in Texas. So that's one thing. The other thing I remember last year, when it was a big deal made of the incredible savings the town was going to have by having our own website developed, and it was going to be ADA compliant. Couple things. First of all, the budget there's a link in the finance section, which is where one would expect to find the budget. Past year's budgets are there, but this year's budget is not only not there, it's not linked to the one that's sitting on the home page, which, by the way, when you download it and want to save it, has the dates of budget year 24-25, and it should say 25-26. So right there, that's not ADA compliant. I'm sure there are other items there that I just haven't, run across yet, but the point is, just because it's built ADA compliant doesn't mean it remains ADA compliant. Please look into that. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave Wise.
I'm Dave Wise, 190 Forest Park Drive. I was an early resident of Flower Mound in 2000, 26 years ago, when Flower Mound thought that it was best for them not to allow retail developments into the town, if you can believe that. And their tax base was all residential. That pretty much changed, and I hope that we will not think that we need to maintain a status quo by not investing in development in our town, especially with the last remaining property that we have. I appreciate the time and the effort that the town leadership has taken in being transparent and keeping taxes low and running the town more like a business now. I think it makes a difference to us as citizens, certainly those of us who have run budgets and businesses before. My understanding is that current taxes will not support a run rate, a demand on services, and the rising cost of those services in the foreseeable future, if we do a forecast, 3 to 5 years, which I hope we're doing. And I would personally not like to have my property taxes go up if we can make investments that will generate revenues. It's impossible for us to know just exactly when those revenues can come. That's not under our control. But that shouldn't keep us from making decisions to move forward.
Thank you. Teddy Williams.
Hi, Teddy Williams, 250 Meadow Knoll.
I need you to pull the mic down just a little bit so we can make sure everybody hears you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm going to bring up 3 things that I heard at the planning and zoning thing, and I may have heard it incorrectly, so if I did, please forgive me. But one of the things I heard was that the developer, I believe, said that 90 to 95% of the traffic for the shopping center was going to be off of 407. So if that is true, then why do we need an entrance to the shopping center off of Simmons? Question. Then the developer, there were 50 or so people here Wednesday night that did not want the shopping center, and I'm not in favor of it either. He took one woman's request, and I'm not saying anything bad about a bakery or anything like that, but he took one woman's request, and it sounded like he ran with it and didn't seem to listen to any of us, and I'm wondering why there. The third thing is, I don't know what a flex is. My guess is it's a warehouse. If it is, if we're going to have 2 warehouses, how is that going to bring any revenue to Double Oak? Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Teddy. All right. Moving on to item 3, council consent agenda. All consent agenda items listed are considered to be routine by the town council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member requests, in which the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Information concerning consent agenda items is available for public review. We have one item in consent agenda. It's discuss, consider, and act on the minutes of March 2nd, 2026. Council, are there any corrections to the minutes? No. All right, is there a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes from March 2nd, 2026.
Is there a second?
I second.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Wellen and second by Councilperson Favero. Lynn, can you please call the vote?
Ms. Wellen?
Aye.
Dr. K? Aye. Mr. Gordney?
Aye.
Mr. Dietrich?
Aye.
All right, thank you, council. Moving on to item 4, mayor, council members, and staff reports. I'm going to go ahead and start with you, Mark. Any comments that you'd like to make?
I had one, but it was mentioned during the earlier discussion, and it would be probably received as a reply to their comments. So unfortunately, no, I don't have any more.
Okay. Dr. K?
No comment.
Mike?
No comment.
Pat? All right. The only thing I'd like to say is I really appreciate all the citizens. This is not a pro or, plus or minus, whatever. The fact that the citizens are involved, and we appreciate that very much. It makes for long meetings, I get it. But you know what? That's what we have the town government set up to do, is listen to the citizens. Doesn't mean we're all going to go away with the way we want it, but I do appreciate your involvement, so thank you. Public Works.
I just would like to give an update on where we are today with the proposed retail development that's been discussed. Currently, the planning staff is continuing reviewing the submitted application and subsequent follow-up documentation. That's a process in itself. It goes back and forth. So they're still currently in the review process. Just want to make sure everyone knows, at this point, there is no scheduled meeting date for an official P&Z meeting because that review has not been completed yet. Also, the applicant has informed us that they are reviewing potential drainage options based on the input received at the last workshop. So we're looking forward to hearing what they have to say, but they heard the community loud and clear and told us that they are going back to the table and going to come up with some more options, and when they do, we will be reviewing them. As it relates to some other public works items, last week I sat on an audit with the Texas Environmental Control Quality people and completed the 5-year audit of our stormwater prevention program. I'm waiting to get the results of that audit, but that's something that happens every 5 years. And also, we are completing our engineers completed the annual report that is required, and that'll be presented to council in April. Additionally, at the last meeting, I mentioned that there's potentially some major repairs coming up for the large culvert on Cross Timbers. The engineer did find some structural issues, unfortunately, so I'm waiting to get some proposals and quotes from them that I'll be bringing to the council for review. That's all I have.
Hey, Chris, can I have a suggestion for the developer? I don't know if you guys ever saw it, but coming down 2499 by Lakeside, there was a sign there once that said like something about like Flower Mound listens, and it was like you went on that website, and I did, and it was a whole thing about what kind of shopping would you want to see in Flower Mound, and I thought it was wonderful, and I put all sorts of stuff in there, you know. I feel like we need something like that, like some kind of thing where there's a sign right around the shopping center, and that people can kind of give feedback. It could be like, it was like kind of like a Google form, you know, and you kind of submit it like that. And, the developer would probably want to do that. I don't want to give you more work necessarily, but if you can pass that on to them, that then, I really feel like if there's things that the citizens want in there, then it's a compromise, right? So it will go over better for the city if, the town, if we can at least get what they actually want, not kind of what we're given. So at least it will give some input from the citizens of exactly what they want.
I'd be happy to follow up on that and check with Flower Mound to see exactly how they did that and how it was set up, and, no, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, and it seems like, I put in Costco, Trader Joe's, all sorts of stuff, and hey, look, we're getting to Costco, so it worked. So, hopefully it actually was meaningful and they actually listened. So that's what the whole point of it is.
Administration.
I'll let Laura kind of give an update on where we are with the Tyler system.
Okay.
So last week was our first full week utilizing the Tyler financial system without any daily support, which was a little scary at first, but we did great. We're now utilizing the financial system for 100% of our daily activities. We also went live with the accounts receivable portion of Tyler. It went off without a hitch. I sent out our invoices for the first month. The only challenge we're having outstanding is getting Paycom to talk to Tyler, but we hope to have that resolved by the end of the week.
Thank you.
And then the only other thing we're working on, Lynn's working really hard on the permit module that was approved by council. That's something that's being worked on in the back end, and hopefully at the next meeting, we'll have an update for you on that.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate it. Any questions there, council? All right. Public safety.
Yeah, so DOPD stats for February of 2026, we had a total of 859 calls for service. That includes both dispatch calls and officer-initiated calls. 38 of those were agency assists, helping out other agencies. 453 traffic stops cleared with either a citation or a written warning, and 4 DWI arrests. We have a CJIS criminal justice compliance audit scheduled for March 23rd. A lot of work going into preparing for that. We completed our preliminary TPCA site visit for accreditation last Thursday. Chief Miller from Colleyville came over, gave us a little advice on some improvements we can make on the physical structure that makes up our property and evidence room. So we'll be moving forward with that. I met with the new Bartonville Police Chief, Jeff Asherbranner. Expect to continue to work well with Bartonville, especially considering that his boss is the old police chief, Kirk Riggs. We've begun to load our current policies into the PMAM Human Capital Management software in preparation for accreditation. And our officers are currently attending refreshers of ALERT training in conjunction with Flower Mound PD. ALERT is Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training. It's kind of the nationwide standard protocol for response to active shooter situations. And so thanks to Flower Mound for hosting that and for letting us kind of join in with them. Obviously, if anything were to ever happen over here at Downing Middle School, although that's not in our city, we'd be among the first responders there. So we want to make sure we're on the same page with Flower Mound and everybody's singing off the same sheet of paper. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Chief. Roads Committee.
Roads Committee is going to meet on the 31st, and hopefully we'll have everything submitted before May to Chris. So we're going to pick a new chairman and all sorts of fun stuff.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you. Drainage Committee.
Nothing right now.
Okay. Ordinance Committee.
So we met once already. We're having another meeting. From that meeting, we did a lot of research. We sent people out to do more research on things. So we're having another meeting on the 24th of this month, and then we have another one planned for the 14th of next month. So we have our next two scheduled already because we have a lot of work that needs to be done and a lot of research that we have to do before we can do that work.
Okay, thank you. So moving on, item 5, new business agenda. 13, discuss, consider, and act on a proposal from Place Strategies to provide town ordinance review services for various chapters of the town's Code of Ordinances. So I'm going to switch up the order because I think it might be beneficial for everyone that signed up to speak on this agenda item. I'm going to go ahead and have you all do the presentation first. That might foster some questions that we might be able to get answered along the way. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Chris.
This has been a long-time project that I've been hoping to get going. Obviously, everyone knows our ordinances are very outdated, making it very difficult to enforce, and it makes it very difficult on council, P&Z, and the Board of Adjustments. Many of our ordinances are over 20, 30 years old, and a lot of them haven't been updated. Working with the ordinance committee on it, a lot of the building and zoning and subdivision ordinances, quite honestly, are just, they're very complex, and we need somebody to come in and take a good technical review of that. As a result, I checked around with a lot of towns, checked around with a lot of people to see what other jurisdictions are doing, to see if we are in the same boat as other towns. And yes, we are in the same boat of other towns. We're not the only ones with old, outdated ordinances. So I reached out and I've received 3 proposals from companies to kind of help us take a look at 3 of our chapters. One being the building chapter for our traditional building permits, the subdivision chapter, and the zoning chapter. All 3 of those kind of relate to building-related ordinances. I did receive 3 proposals. And I interviewed each one to make sure that they had a good fit and that'd be a good opportunity for the town, and made a recommendation to our ordinance committee to go with Place Strategies. They are local out of Fort Worth. The person who would be serving this and looking at our ordinance has extensive experience, both working as a city planner for the city of Lubbock for 12 years, plus working on his own side. After he did that, he kind of went on his own and is working as basically a freelance planner, helping towns update their ordinances. I have met with the ordinance committee. The ordinance committee has interviewed this person, and we all feel very comfortable going forward with this company. I'm open for any questions that people might have.
So I really don't have any questions because I did help in this process and interviewed the people. One of the things that I will tell you, the ordinance committee, when we're looking at these ordinances, they are technical. We don't have the technical skills, the engineering skills, the skills that they need to look at these. We did look at, there were a lot of changes in the state law. Back in 2019 was one of the big ones that changed a lot of ours. Our ordinances were never updated when that state law changed. They're continually updating these state laws every year, and so we had a few more this year that happened too. So we've been noting which things we think are out of date and which things we think we have to do. But having a company like this that comes in that specializes in this will help us know that these really are the ones we need to change. And what we liked about this, most other ones gave us a full quote for the entire thing, including that they're going to change them for us. Well, we don't know if they're things we can do ourselves yet, or if they're things we really need somebody to help us change, or if they can just give us advice and then we can take it and do that. So this gentleman gave us a quote where he'll look at them, he'll tell us, he'll also give recommendations to us of, we think you can just take care of these. I don't need to be involved. Or these are super technical, you need to be involved in them. You need to get your engineering firm involved with them, or here's what it would cost for me to do them. So we can make a decision based on that of what we want somebody else to do or what we can do ourselves. So that's what we liked about his. We weren't already going in saying, yeah, we'll pay all this money, and then you may find 3 things that you need to do. And now we've already agreed to pay all that money. So that's what we liked about his approach, is we can decide what to do next.
Can I ask questions?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any way to know how, so Copper Canyon used Place Strategies, is there any way to know how much they ended up spending in total?
They're currently working on it. They started this process about a month or two ago. So he's still in what he calls the diagnostic part. They haven't gone to the next step. But talking to Copper Canyon, they are very, very impressed with this individual and like the direction he's going. I've also had, he's also doing a similar thing, plus some other planning projects for the town of Justin. And if any of you know what's going on in Justin, there's a whole lot going on over there. Got very, very high marks from their public works director of Justin that this particular individual would do a great job and be a good fit for us.
But are they also in the review process even in Justin? I just want to know, I guess, an idea of what this is going to be at the end.
So we asked him that same thing, and so he gave us some different scenarios, but like he said, until he finishes the diagnostics, we don't anticipate it'll be higher than the mid-level one, which was in the 30s, but we're hoping that we can end up, we think that there will be some things that we can take care of, or that we can just give to our town attorney to take care of, once we know this is what we need to be following.
Okay.
We just need that advice.
And then with that, how do we ongoing, make sure this is getting fixed every year, potentially?
Right, so that will be, we will have an active ordinance committee, because we get notifications as a town from TML of all of the things that changed in the state legislature and how it affects us. So if they had been watching that, and it gives you advice on how to change things as well, then we can take that advice right then and change it and stay up to date from here forward. That is the plan, to have an active ordinance committee and not let it go dormant, that this will be an active living document that is not going to sit on the shelf for another 30 years, that hopefully councils past us will decide that this is worthwhile and keep this ordinance committee going and active. So we won't have to do this again. We'll just be able to use our town attorney in the normal process to keep it updated.
And
I have a
after they
question.
write these, suggest these ordinances, it goes to the town attorney to look at and to
Yes.
sign off on?
Correct. The
Okay.
ordinance committee will be a steering committee. It will go to our town attorney to look at, sign off on. It will come here for the public to look at them and give us comments back so that we can make sure we're making the right changes for the town. So it won't be done in a vacuum. Citizens will be able to comment and look at them and see what we're planning on changing, or what we're proposed, not planning on, but we propose changing, and give us input back as well. Yes, I think Mark has something.
Mark?
Yeah, so did Copper Canyon and Justin have an approach that we are doing to the review?
Yes.
Yeah, the town of Copper Canyon is doing it the exact same way that this person is proposing, yes.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, Chris brought up two of the towns. This is happening all over DFW right now because of all the growth in Denton County. So from Aubrey to Pilot Point to Hickory Creek, everybody is looking at this because the state's beginning to move a lot faster than what the towns have been able to keep up with. Any other questions,
Yeah, I hadn't
council?
been to Justin in like 5 years, and I went over there, I was like, wow. That's completely different.
They've got a big challenge ahead of them with they're about ready to explode out there with 156 and 407, so.
Yes.
So any other questions here? All right, so now, citizens, I'll call you out. You come up, identify yourself again. Now, you can actually ask a question, all right? This isn't just about what saying I'm going to state whatever I want to state, but we can have, within the 3 minutes, we can have back and forth, just so you all know. So we're going to start with Sterling, is it Caraway? Yes. All right, please come up. And Bob Raleigh, you'll be right behind her.
Hey, Sterling Caraway, 318 East Caruth. I appreciate that you're working to review our town ordinances. And as Chris mentioned in his agenda notes, our ordinances have not been updated for many years, are outdated and inconsistent with Texas state laws, resulting in confusion and frustration when the town acts on the enforcement of our ordinances. I'd like to ask you to please take the time to get the ordinances right before moving ahead with rezoning the property at 407 and Simmons, to set the structure before adding on a 23-acre development, including a shopping center and gas station. I live next to this property. We would like to make sure our ordinances are in good order regarding flex buildings, drainage, lighting, noise, buffer zones, pollution before moving forward with such a large development that will certainly change our quality of life. Thank you. I do also have a question.
Yep.
The proposals, there were 3 proposals submitted, but we only saw one. Do you usually share the other 2?
I typically don't. I mean, they're available to look at me, but staff recommendations is the one from Place Strategies.
Okay. So is it possible to see the other 2?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, it's public information, yes.
Okay, so if I'll give you my email?
No problem. ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Bob Brawley, followed by Mickey Spagnola.
Hello again. I'm going to echo just what she said, and that is, please take your time with these ordinances. I mean, this is something that can't be rushed, especially as property owners that are contiguous. We're going to be the biggest, largest group affected, and then it's going to trickle down from there. So I'll ask the people here, are you going to, like, how are we going to manage, and you're going to hear all of our requests and needs, and what consideration will all of those be for all of the contiguous property owners adjacent to this project? Can somebody answer?
You want to talk about the PD?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's important to note, because we're kind of talking about 2 different things. With the planned development, what the planned development does is, at the end of it, it's going to be creating its own ordinance. So the planned development, when it's all finished, it'll be, the result of that will be an ordinance for that property, highlighting all the things that have been brought up over the last few months, and that was really discussed a lot at the workshop on last week. Again, the final result of the plan development process is an ordinance. So if I'm making sense or
I
not.
realize that, but
Okay.
it's also a lot, some of the ordinances or the PD, you called it, that needs to be heard by the property owners next to it.
Yes.
And I've had some visitors that have come out to us, but how are we going to sit down and take notes? Like, everybody's heard stuff, but we actually need to look at it and go, hey, here's 10 things on this list that are going to affect everybody. Here's 3 things that are only going to affect that one person. Like, what's the process? How's that going to happen? How's that going to get documented? And then how's that going to get implemented?
So I've asked the same question because I haven't seen everything that's in the PD yet. And so now my understanding of a PD is much more firm in that it will create this ordinance. The list that McAdams was talking about, I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe it's going to be shared Wednesday night, so that we'll start
Okay.
seeing that. And then we can add, at that meeting, it's going to be a citizens meeting, open forum. We can add comments to that, to add additional things to that. So there will be time still to comment on that and make sure things are in there. So we had things like, I think at the last meeting, somebody commented they didn't want to have any manufacturing in there. I saw McAdams taking that down, so that flex space. So we can say what we want in that ordinance and what that does. The reason why it's an ordinance that's specific to that development is it will stay with that development no matter who buys it from here on out.
Yes.
And so that makes it stronger for us. What that doesn't do is it doesn't change our ordinances for other development. So I want to make sure that whatever the town decides we should be doing there, we change our other ordinances that are not part of the PD, so that if other development happens out at the other land, because there's still some potential pad sites over there, we can maintain those same standards over there. So that's kind of where I'm going with it. What we're doing in our ordinance committee is not necessarily going to be what this PD is, but we can all have some input into it and make sure that whatever we put into that, we put into the rest of our ordinances to keep them standard.
Right, right. Well, you know, I don't just have another farm that's, you know, another guy that's coming in and going to farm that piece of property.
Yeah.
You know, like somebody's building something big and maybe ugly or maybe beautiful. We don't really know. But my big concern is that we are sat down and talked to, and then the real big concern is that we're heard.
And that's,
And not just heard, but follow through. And it's not just me, it's everybody that's next to it. Like, that's important. And I've heard you guys talk like, Bob, we want to hear what this is, but nobody said that, let's really talk about it. And let's put it down on paper, and let's see what we can do to make this happen.
and that's what McAdams is doing right now, is putting it down on paper, is my understanding of
Yeah,
it.
but
because
they're
I've
putting
asked
their
that
thoughts
question.
down.
No, they're getting all the people that they're talking to. Here's what I was told.
They haven't talked to me.
So,
Please, please.
excuse me, all of these meetings that the developer is having, the developer and McAdams are talking together. So McAdams is getting the developer. What we want to see now is what that list is,
Okay,
so that we can see if what you've been saying, I haven't been privy to these meetings where they've gone around and talked to different, where the developer has gone and talked to different people either. So I want to hear what they have on the list, and then we want to hear from you, did they get the things that you were talking about in these meetings?
Correct.
Okay? I've heard some of it when we had the meeting the other night. I've talked to you personally. Do have plans to go around and talk to other people, but I have some family things that I've been having to take care of. So I haven't made it around to every single one of the people that backs to this property. I do plan on doing that. We have time to do this. So there is time. Because we do want to make sure that it's right and that it's protected and the town's going to get the best thing for the town.
The plan development should feed our other ordinances that need changed. So we're trying to build as many of those into the plan development, and then we'll pull those out, hand them over to the ordinance committee, hand them over to place strategies, and then they'll take them. And so this is really the fastest way in order to do this. If we had to sit around and start to have all these meetings on this particular ordinance or that particular ordinance, it would take us a little bit of time, because this ordinance work that we're talking about tonight is going to take some time. With the plan development, we're going to try and get as many of this, all of this, your input. We haven't, as the town yet, got to sit down with either the developer or McAdams. We've given them input, but what we are doing is watching and seeing how they're working with the citizens. And then we get to sit down with them and go, okay, did they do this? Did they do this? So we're going to be a check and balance in this. That's what we hired McAdams for. McAdams is working for us, the town, and they're going to be taking the information that's been provided in these meetings, and then we're going to be having that discussion with them to ensure we understand it. Because there's things that I haven't seen pop up on the list yet, but it's still a work in process.
it's a big job.
Yes.
And you've got a giant job to pull all this together. I think that maybe, if I can say it in a different way, is what is the process? When do you sit down with the adjacent property owners, not just in a public setting?
Mm-hmm.
I know, Mayor, you've talked about coming out and seeing our place, and I really appreciate that. Many council members have, and I appreciate that. And we've talked about it, but it's not like I've given you a written sheet of paper and said, this is what we need. Is there a formal way of doing it? That's what I'm asking. What is really the
we'll come up
correct
with a process.
process?
We'll build a small a process. Doesn't have to be complicated.
No.
We'll build it, and then we'll follow through with it.
Thank you very much.
Well, it sounds like Mr. Brawley, from when I went to his property and talked to him, he knows it all. So he needs to be like part of this, whoever, like direct contact. He's almost like the citizen liaison because he's talking to everyone already. So it would be good if, we kind of, however we kind of pair it up and kind of have one point person on the citizen side who's gathering all the information too, and then one person on our side, and then we can kind of compare notes, because right now there's so many meetings and so many things that it's just each citizen. So it's so hard to get it all together. And he had a lot of it. So it's like, I don't want to put it on you, Bob, but maybe that should be, since you are the biggest person adjacent to that, maybe it should be, that you kind of are the one to kind of get it all together.
Bob, we'll
I don't wanna
touch
put that
base
on
on
you.
this on
Yeah.
Thursday.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mickey Spagnola.
Getting to be on first name basis, huh? Ordinances. So I think these ordinances need to be worked out before we give approval to a shopping center. And I think you guys know that, and so slow down. The second thing is there an ordinance where when someone proposes something like this, that they've got to tell you if we're building a grocery store, who it is?
No.
Because so far,
No.
nothing, right?
No. It's
That seems to be, should be part of the decision. You will know, right?
I will know when, at some point in the future, if the development goes through. There's some rules, there's some legal
Okay.
rules that we have to follow. In fact, we've stepped a little bit over the line with some of our comments from our council on planning and zoning last meeting. That our attorney has come back and said, you have to be careful. The town cannot dictate that it has to be an HEB or it can only be a Market Street. The town can't do that. We cannot do that.
So you can't rule anything out.
No, we have to be open to, so Councilperson Favero's suggestions of putting something out on a webpage and getting some ideas from the citizens, it works to get that information to them. From the town, we cannot.
Okay.
We cannot just, and that's, Mickey, it's really hard to sit in these meetings some days and go, we'd really like one of those.
Right.
Because we can't do it.
What prevents them from saying? Why would they want to keep it a secret?
I think it's just their NDAs. I mean, I've worked with big box retail throughout my career, and when they go to do their market research and when they want to go try and I'm not speaking for them, I'm just kind of, because we were a trade inside of the big box. We would never know until they were literally dropping the thing on the site that there's going to be one there and they need this stuff. And it's just there's a lot of competitiveness in it. I'm as excited to know who this is as you all are. But I do know this, that when someone made a comment a couple weeks ago, well, NDAs can be broken. NDAs, you end up in court if you want to break an NDA. That's not a recommended process, nor would we force the developer into doing something like that. Because it's my understanding they have multiple grocery stores. They also have some other positive retail type businesses that are interested in it as well. But as far as us knowing what it is, we do not know.
So just to let you know, yesterday, we sort of walked our neighborhood. They've had petitions going on, and some people hadn't signed yet. And one of the questions we got from the majority of the people that hadn't signed the petition was, well, we know about the shopping center, what grocery store is going in?
I know.
So just know that that is a concern on maybe people being for it or against it.
Absolutely.
Also, I saw that there, and we brought this up previously, signage required for zoning change. Section 3-1, and it gets down to the size of the sign and everything, and it says, "The sign and lettering thereon must be sufficient size and type to be conspicuous and plainly visible. The sign placement must be conspicuous, sufficiently legible so as to be seen by any ordinarily observant person traveling upon fronting public street. Where a property fronts 2 or more public streets, signs shall be posted facing each of the public streets." There's nobody in here can tell me that those signs are conspicuous. You would have to stop for at least 2 minutes to read them. And nobody's stopping on 407 to read those, right?
Okay, you're talking about the notice sign.
The
Okay, I'm
planning
sorry.
and
I
zon-
was thinking
yeah.
you were talking about.
No, the
sign
planning and
for the property.
zoning change signs.
Okay.
You know, it's got a little number underneath there.
Okay.
Who's going to sit there and write that down?
We'll
It's got to be bigger.
look at it.
And then I also, and this was one of your ordinances, it said, it was under off-site drainage. And it says, "Adequate consideration shall be given by the owner in the development of property determine how the discharge leaving proposed development will affect adjacent property." It goes on to say in section C, "On lots or tracts of 3 acres or more where stormwater runoff has been collected or concentrated, it shall not be permitted to drain onto adjacent property except in existing creeks, channels, or storm sewers unless proper drainage easements or notarized letters of permission from the affected property owners are provided." When would that happen? Would that happen before you approved it, after you guys approved it, didn't approve it? And it says, if necessary, easements or letters of permission cannot be obtained, then the town engineer can review the downstream damage. So again, my point is, if there is damage, if this thing goes through, who's responsible? The town? The developer? Are they going to sign something on the papers that say, if this doesn't work, we will fix it or repair it or give proper payment for the damage it created? And when you guys see my pictures, we have enough drainage problems in Caruth Estates just from rain. We don't need somebody to add to it. So this ordinance says it should get permission from affected properties, and there is at least 8 to 10 properties on that side that it would back up to that will be affected if their drainage plan doesn't work. And we have not seen, and we heard all about retention, detention ponds. At some point, they got to run that water off. It's got to go somewhere. And certainly, whatever that water is from different businesses, especially a gas station, Mr. Browley doesn't want it in his pond, so where's it going to go? And I think you guys have to think about that as a big effect on 56 homes that are on the edge of Double Oak. And I remind everybody, we are in Double Oak. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mickey. Gail Spagnola?
Good evening.
Oh, I'm going to have you pull that a little closer. There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
You know, I always thought I was smart.
If you,
I'm sorry. I'm Gail Spagnola. I live at 3019 East Caruth.
Thank you.
And like I was saying, I always thought I was smart, and I must be. I mean, I've had some really important jobs. I've been on boards for companies and nonprofits, and I can write grants, and there's so many things that I can do that are important. And so one day I decided, I got some time, I'm going to read the ordinances. And so I started doing that. And it made me feel so confused. It was kind of a mess. It looked like a lot of the ordinances were like taken from the ordinance book and like just put in there and had no meaning for us whatsoever. And then some of it was sounded like a suggestion, and I'm thinking like, well, I wonder what they're going to do to enforce that. That doesn't sound enforceable. And so I'm very, very glad to hear that that is underway. That's a very, very important thing to happen. But I just hope that before you start building on anything, that you really get to the bottom of all these ordinances, make them make sense, make them enforceable, have consequences when they aren't followed. Those things are like really important. And I think all the time, I can hardly sleep some nights thinking about the terrible things that are going to happen at that shopping center if it happens. And I just have to talk to people about it all the time because it's just, it just doesn't make any sense to me, like the ordinances. And I just hope that y'all will slow down, think about it. And that was an incredible suggestion about input from the people. Imagine that. If there's going to be something, it should be what we want. And I was reading your letter to the paper, the Cross Timbers Gazette from March of last year. And in that, you were talking about how the strength of the community relies on its people, and we encourage residents to engage and participate in advocacy efforts and preserve Double Oak's character. And that's what we've been trying to tell you. That's what we've been trying to say to y'all, is like, we don't want Double Oak to change all crazy like. We want it to be very gentle and stuff that is palpable, not like stuff that's like warehouses or something, or shops and things like that are just going to be terrible. And so I just hope y'all will just slow down and just get that input from us and give us opportunities to tell you what we want. And we will have very, very good ideas. And I appreciate you listening to me, but I think what we need so much more than anything is like the high tax businesses with low impact to us. And I just think when I imagine it, it's like way out of control, way too big, lots of crime, just terrible stuff. And I'm just hoping that y'all do what you can to make sure that that's not going to happen, and that we'll have, if we have to have something, that we'll have something nice and respectable that will work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Morgan Brawley.
Hello.
Hello.
I think it's great that we're doing the ordinance review, but what I don't understand is how we can put stuff into a PD if we don't understand the underlying ordinances that exist at the moment for things like drainage, things like, loud noises and lighting and stuff like that. Like if we don't understand what is currently in our ordinances, if it's not easily understood by most citizens, then I don't understand how then we can evaluate the ordinances that get put into a PD and be able to make judgments on that. If we don't know where we came from with the review of the ordinances, how do we know what we're going towards? So can you speak to that a little bit, maybe?
You want to take it? Start?
Yeah, what the PD does is it'll identify any variances of our existing ordinances.
Okay.
Just for that particular property.
Uh-huh.
And create a separate ordinance for that property. So it accomplishes exactly what you're saying. If there is some confusion with our current ordinances, or if there's something that is not even listed in our ordinances that needs to be in there. For example, a few meetings ago, it was talking about the drive-through capabilities, if we have a drive-through fast food or whatever. Right now, our ordinance, we don't have anything for that. So the benefit of having the PD is that that will be identified, highlighted, and controlled through the plan development ordinance. So it accomplishes basically what some of your concerns are.
So we also see this kind of happening simultaneously. As they identify stuff like this, we put it into our ordinances. And then, like I said, we'll have public comment and all on it, so we'll be also getting public comment. If they're asking for variances, then, again, it will come before us to understand what those variances are and see if it's a variance we want or not.
Okay, so the PD will be made public?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
It's still a
Public
work in
document.
process.
Okay.
Yeah, and that, it would be its own separate ordinance, which would require public hearings. It would go through the public hearing
Okay.
process, and everybody would get a chance to review it and comment on it, yes.
But that would be after the zoning.
Yeah, that part I
That,
don't.
no, that's part of the zoning process.
So it would be before?
Yes.
It's part of it.
That's
Yeah,
great.
And that is what our planning staff is currently working on, is identifying those areas that do require, that would require a variance, or items that currently are not part of our current ordinance structure.
Yeah. But
That's what they're working on right now,
Yeah,
yes.
one of the things I do notice from what Morgan's saying is that if we had place strategies also doing their thing, that we would see more. Like, they would see things that maybe McAdams isn't seeing, that the citizens aren't seeing, that we're not seeing. It would be like another check.
That's why we want them now,
Yeah.
so that they can start this, because he'll do that. He'll start looking through ordinances that we currently have that we can't have because it's illegal for us to have them. There are some, he's already seen some, I've seen some too. We need to redline those, we need to get them out of our ordinances. We then need to work on the things that we need to change to update to meet Texas code, to meet Texas statutes. And at the same time, we need to think about, at the same time that we're looking at this, so we have two simultaneous. That's why we also like not having McAdams in this, having a different person, so we get that extra perspective. We have them working PD, we have this one working that side, and then they'll come together is what we're
So you're-
thinking will happen.
Yeah, and you're kind of hoping timeline-wise, they kind of
So
somewhat come together.
that's where we were talking to him. Sorry, we were talking with the gentleman from Place Strategies, and that's one of the things that he can start immediately after if we decide to go forward with him, he can start immediately on starting that analysis.
Like the ones that would pertain to, yeah.
The current,
yeah,
well, he's going to look
building
at all
stuff.
the building ones. We have them coming in for only 3, and we're looking at all the rest. The committee is going through and looking at all the rest of those.
Okay, so I have a follow-up question, if that's okay. So if, for example, if Place Strategies is just going to look at one segment, and you previously were saying that it's, Copper Canyon's a month into their process, and I don't know how many sections of their ordinances that they're looking at, but is there a timing estimate on how long it would take to update? Like, I think it's more than the building. It's probably also we need to update the zoning part of it. Yeah, so has he provided an
Yeah, he's looking
estimate?
at his initial assessment, because he's going to be taking a deep dive
Right.
into he's anticipating that process to take a good 2 to 3 months.
Okay, so if that's all working on the same timeline,
Exactly.
then it should align with creating the
That would be
PD.
wonderful, yes.
Okay. I think I had one more. Okay, my question is on McAdams, pulling in all of the information from all different parties. Like you said, that they're taking notes on, like the meetings that the developer has had with the community, and meetings that, they've had with other people. So how do you guys know for sure if what their interpretation, McAdams, because everybody provides their own interpretation on a conversation. that they've heard or been a party to. How do you guys know the true interpretation of what McAdams is putting together is going to be what is truly the real interpretation? And then at what point would we get to review that to make sure it's the right interpretation of what we talked about?
Well, let me just take a step back.
Sorry.
Because some of the initial discussions between the developer and the impacted residents has only been between those two, and McAdams was not part of that, so obviously they were
Right.
not there, so they're not going to
Exactly.
know what was in those meetings.
Okay.
However, they have been in the number of not the number, they were at both workshops. They listened to every council meeting.
Right.
And all the issues that have been brought up over the last probably 4 council meetings I think we've had. And so they are hearing the community loud and clear based upon those discussions. And they're taking notes and they are making sure that those items are addressed as they're reviewing the plan development application. That's why there's a lot of back and forth right now going on. It's not a fast process. They were, much like I mentioned earlier, we haven't even scheduled formal public hearings yet. There's a lot that has to happen between the developer and staff to make sure that all the issues that are being addressed by the community and also McAdams on the town's behalf, they are making sure from a technical ordinance perspective
Right.
that whatever is being proposed is meeting our ordinances. And if they are not part of our ordinances, that has to be identified in the development specs because that would require a variance and that would be highlighted in the final application that would be going forth to planning and zoning.
I've also been taking notes at every one of these meetings of everything y'all have said. So while I'm sitting here, if you don't think I'm listening to you, I'm writing down what you're saying. And I have been passing those along to Randy and to others
Great.
also to say, okay, they're worried about pest control. I'm going down to the nitty-gritty
Yeah.
of this. If they're worried about pest control, I want you to write something in there about
Mosquitoes.
how that's going to be controlled and what's that going to happen. Because if it's not in the PD, as you were talking about enforcement, we can't enforce it if it's not
Right.
in the PD. So I want those things that are concerns of yours to be in that PD so that they are enforceable by the town.
Okay.
So if you have any ideas and you want to send me an email, I'm getting emails from people too on this, so I'm adding those to the list.
Great.
We want to hear from you. We want to make sure that we do this right and that we have what we need so that it is enforceable, so that we do have what the town needs to make sure this is the best development that we can possibly get.
Okay. And then in the PD, it'll have types of shops that are allowed and aren't
That is
allowed,
correct.
right?
Yes.
We kind of talked about that with the
That
McAdams
list is still being created.
2-column thing.
It's still being
Okay.
created.
So-
So again, if we get the webpage set up, I mean, there's some things we can't say no to.
Okay.
But for the most part, we're getting the list that we want together to cover us from a lot of, I'll just say, stuff.
Right. What would be an example of something that you can't say no to?
Pawn shop is what our lawyer told me.
According, yeah.
You can't say no to a pawn
there's-
shop, huh?
There's a state law, state regulation.
We'll get that list put together.
Yeah, that's just
Okay.
I don't want to sit here and make a comment
Yeah,
and
yeah.
speak wrong.
So-
But that's
so
one that
if-
he just mentioned at the last
Right.
meeting, I
So
think. we're
if-
Yeah,
at.
I still don't understand that one.
I don't either. That's one of my
but-
one on the list. That's why I was told,
Excellent.
that was one on my list.
Yeah.
To say I don't want
So
that.
that list will then be made public
Of
of what
course
we
it-
Yeah,
can't
it's all,
say no
it's all
to?
part of everything we're doing.
It's in the PD.
Okay.
So
And the law.
again,
Okay, it'll be in the PD.
Yeah, and you got to remember too, part of the evaluation process not only is happening from our planning staff perspective, McAdams look at our order, but also we'll be getting our attorney involved as well.
Correct.
Upon review to make sure from a legal perspective, we're doing everything we need to do from a legal perspective so we don't get, so that's why I said, we're not rushing this project. We are taking our time to make sure that it is reviewed in a good, solid manner to address all the issues that are being brought up. Like I said earlier, we have not scheduled a formal presentation to planning and zoning. It's not even on our calendar at all because we're not there yet. There's too much work to be done.
Okay.
I will tell you, the developer does not want those kinds of businesses either because they do not bring in the adjacent businesses. They want high-end retail also. But what I want to look at and what I've always told them is I want to not think about just today. I want to think about 30 years from now, 40 years from now, 50 years from now. What will it look like? Because that's what you see in Louisville or in other places. So I want to think it through and make sure we have a list that's pretty solid and pretty tight.
Okay. I love hearing that. I think that's all of my questions. Thank you guys so much for answering.
Thank you.
For me, and I think some of the other residents, the flow chart of what McAdams had put up about the timeline was very confusing. And it didn't elucidate to the fact that it might be months before stuff would start appearing, before we might see a fully completed PD. It just wasn't, maybe if you gave it it could be 2 weeks, it could be 4 months from now, it could be 5 months from now.
Unfortunately, every project is different, and they were just given a little, a flow chart, not a timeline.
Yeah.
So the reason why we went to bid for a city planner is because there were mistakes made when they went to develop the eastern part of the town. There were 80 acres that the town was working on acquiring to set up our own retail establishment on the east side. And while they were going through a lot of iterations from a council perspective and whomever, I'm not pointing fingers, I'm just saying, the church came in and bought the land. And then it was, oops, now what do we do? And then the town had to work with the church to carve out what they had over there.
Right.
Knowing that, as the mayor, knowing that as a council person, the knowledge was passed on, we said that if we ever have that come up on our watch, we cannot attempt to do this by ourselves. And thus bringing the McAdams in and the place strategies and others. Yes, it's going to cost a little bit of money, but it's going to be money well spent to get it right. We could not sit down with a developer and go through all of this and think we were going to capture it all, and it'd end up in the PD, and then the next thing you know, we have a PD that's completely incomplete. And when you match that up with our ordinances, which we've all sat here and gone, oh my gosh, this is not good.
Right.
There's no way that we could enter into what I would call a fair fight with a developer, because the reality of it is that we could be taken advantage of, and we just said we weren't going to do that.
Yeah.
So, and I get it, there's been a lot of work, there's been work done in the background, as it should be, to get to a point of where we're getting to today. But literally, we have not sat down as a town yet and reviewed all of the documents, not the engineering part of it,
Right.
because there's things that we set up front that we expected that's got to meet this, and this. And eventually we'll get there. We think it would have been selfish for us to take that and do it first without the developer, which we told right up front, you got to get, there's a row of houses here, a row of people here, and a row over here. You're going to have to get those people engaged to find out what's going on. So we were very upfront with them, and they went and done that, which is kind of amazing. I didn't really think they would listen to us, and they have. So there's still work to be done. And believe me, if we just had to wait for every single ordinance to get done, I mean, it's going to take us
Nothing
quite a
would
while.
get done,
But we
probably.
protect ourselves with this plan development, which is really, really nice. Once I understood how the plan development worked, I'm like, let's load it up with everything we need to do to protect the town, and then we peel them out and put them in our ordinance.
Okay.
Mayor, I have a question. In regards to the eastern side of town, would you say the biggest mistake made was that they went to zone it too early? They changed it from the zoning, and that was where you lost your leverage?
I can't speak to, I don't have that.
Well, I
knowledge.
just don't want to make that same mistake now, is the question.
No, it has nothing to do with the zoning. It has everything to do with how they were going to acquire the property.
Okay.
There were arguments on the council, we don't want to spend the money, we do want to spend the money. It never even got to that.
It never, okay.
No, it
I just
never
want to
even
make
got
sure
to
that we're not going to do something too early and then some kind
No,
of swoop,
it never
this
got
thing
there.
happens.
It never got there, because when the church, my understanding, when the church came in and purchased property, first thing that went up was a church. The second thing that came up was the storage unit, which, from talking to our town attorney, ended up in a 2 or 3 year legal battle. And then the other businesses started to filter in. So I could not make a statement on that.
Yeah, but at some point it was ag, and it got
Yeah, it
changed
was
to
a- yeah,
commercial.
the whole town was ag.
Yeah, it got changed to commercial at some point. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Gene Hillier.
Jean Hillier, 170 Trailing Oaks Drive. A lot's already been said that was on my list, but just one thing to clarify. I believe it was Sterling or somebody asked if copies of the other 2 proposals would be available. So do we need to do a public information request, or if we email you, can we get a copy of those just
Yeah,
to look
just
at?
email, I'll send it to
Okay,
you.
thank you, that would be great. Appreciate it.
Bree Hancock.
Bree Hancock, 220 Shady Hill Lane. Most of the things that I had listed were already said as well. I just wanted to make 2 quick notes, and then I have a few follow-up questions. First statement is I was with Pat and Chris when we met with Yvonne and Place Strategies. I was the duly elected by
The
not my
ordinance
choice.
committee.
I was told that I was the chair of the ordinance committee. So that's comprised of 3 members. For those that don't know, it's myself, our vice chair. We have another member that just joined, and then Pat's recently taken it over. I will applaud Pat. There has been a lot that's started to move forward since you took it over, so thank you. You've done a really nice job to keep us in line, and we've already had several meetings, and like you mentioned before, we've already got 2 more on the docket, so it's good to see that things are moving forward. 2 things that I want to go back to. I think that it's prudent that we move forward now with a decision. Chris, I think you did a nice job of getting a wide scope of options, both in experience and cost. This is the lower end cost, but based off of the approach, kind of like what you guys were talking about earlier, I think it's the most fiscally responsible option. And the approach is good because we're not paying for more things than what we need at this moment. So I think it's practical for what the town needs at this time, and I think we need to move forward so that we can meet citizen needs and demands, and this can run concurrently. I think that's a really important piece to point out. The ordinance committee is also still in active review, so I just want to make that point. They are looking at those 3 things that you guys mentioned earlier, and I'll just repeat them. That's the building regulations, the subdivision regulations, and zoning. We have a whole notebook list of things that we're still reviewing. And I just want to make a call to action to citizens that if you guys have concerns, ideas, we have a lot of experience, both in business, different jobs that people have held in this community. I think it makes it stronger when people make their voices heard, but we don't know what we don't know. So I would applaud and encourage citizens to email Pat. You will obviously share that with the committee, but there's been a few things that I've just read online from citizens' concerns that we're already following up on. One of those things is through street traffic. I know that's a big concern for citizens who live near the potential development, and I can assure you guys, if there's a way for us to look into something ahead of time, we're not waiting around.
Yeah.
So as much as I think it's important to draw on expertise from a third party, I just want to also make note that the ordinance committee is not sitting on our hands in the meantime. Couple of questions. I think I know the answer, but I want to make sure that it's officially stated. Can we make ordinance changes to that land that's currently under potential development options now that the application is submitted?
You want to take it, or, yeah.
No, once the application is submitted, for that property, no, but again, that's why we're going through the plan development
Right.
process.
Right. So essentially, if we were to pass, let's say, an ordinance now, that would apply to the rest of the town, but it would not apply to that specific plot of land because the application has been submitted.
Right.
Okay.
But we would put it in the plan development.
That's why we have to make sure it's in the PD.
This plan development's going to be,
It's a yin and yang.
it's going to be pretty big.
Yeah. It's a yin and yang. But I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. again, kind of on the same note, but I just wanted officially stated. Do plan development ordinances supersede current town ordinances?
For only that development.
Right.
They will
So
not
same
apply
thing, it will
to
not
other places. I've been asking all these same questions, so, so it will only apply to that. That's why it's important that if we think it's important as a town, that we put it into the rest of our ordinances, so it will apply. It will not, however, apply to any building that's already been built
Right.
over here. So that was a bad thing that they didn't have, I haven't looked at their PD, if they came in as a PD or not. I don't know how that was developed, to be honest with you.
And I had the same questions. I mean, my first hand was raised if there's certain things that we can prohibit. So I think it's really important that we keep that in mind as these two processes run concurrently. Back to, I think we need to move forward and act on approving. And then, Chris, maybe this is a question more for you and your expertise. I keep hearing comments about slowing down, which I do agree with, taking a thoughtful and planful approach. What are some of the next kind of big milestones in this process? Like you say, it's still back and forth. What in terms of maybe a 1, 2, 3 are the next big steps in terms of this plan development or this process?
Well, the next big step would be the coming to at least an initial agreement between the town's planning staff and the developer to bring that application forward to P&Z for public comment. Now, that could mean a number of things in terms of what that process is, but coming to an agreement in terms of what the plan development specifications are, and then the next step is taking it to P&Z for review. That's not saying that other public hearings wouldn't happen and things of that sort.
Sure.
But the next big step is getting that final, at least initial approval by both sides. Okay, we're ready to move forward to take it for public comment.
Okay.
And then at that point, it would go through the public comment stages of planning and zoning, and then ultimately council.
Okay.
And again, this is just for the planning application.
Right.
Because then there's a whole nother process after the planning application. You got the site plan and the plating and all that type of stuff that would go on after that.
Right.
Okay.
So there's a lot to still be done.
So there's a lot to go, long
And
way to
there's
go,
a lot
yes.
of opportunity for more citizen input.
A lot more, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other dialogue, council? All right. If we are to move to a motion on this item, I'm going to go ahead and read the item again. And that is to discuss, consider, and act on a proposal from Place Strategies to provide town ordinance review services for various chapters of the town's code of ordinances. This will require, if we move forward, two motions. One to approve the proposal. The second one is to move the budget transfer. So what I'll ask of the council at this moment is there a motion to approve the proposal with Place Strategies?
I move that we approve the proposal for Place Strategies to provide town ordinance review services for various chapters of Town Code of Ordinances.
Is there a second?
Second.
Right, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Willen and a second by Councilperson Gortney. Lynn, can you please call the vote?
Mr. Gortney?
Aye.
Mr. Dietrich?
Aye.
Ms. Willen?
Aye.
Dr. K?
Aye.
All right, thank you, council. The next motion would be to approve a budget transfer of $15,000 from town's general contingency fund account to the town project special revenue fund for the review of the town ordinances. Is there a motion?
I move that we transfer $15,000 from the town's general contingency fund to the town's, I'm sorry, I need those words again. Which fund are we going to, Chris? Oh. Special revenue fund, to the town's special projects, excuse me, let me start again. I move that we approve a budget transfer of $15,000 from the town's general contingency fund balance account to the town's projects special revenue fund for the review of the town ordinances.
I second.
All right. We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Wellen and a second by Councilperson Favero. Lynn, can you please call the vote?
Dr. K? Aye. Ms. Wellen?
Aye.
Mr. Dietrich?
Aye.
Mr. Gortney?
Aye.
All right, the item passes. Thank you, council. Thank you, citizens, for great discussion. We are looking forward, this goes well beyond this development. These ordinances needed fixed for years and years and years, and it is a big job. So, and this ordinance committee, since Pat has taken it on and put together, the team has made more movement in the last month and a half than I think we did in the last 5 years, so.
And we've now got a truck route, only down, up and down 407, not through town, and our police force has already enforced that new ordinance. So we made it enforceable. That's the biggest thing. We did make it enforceable.
Yep. All right, moving on to the last item this evening, discuss, consider, and act on a quote from schoollockers.com for evidence storage lockers in the amount of $2305.79. Presentation by Chief Miller.
So you've all heard me talk for a while now about the accreditation process and about how getting the property evidence room organized has been a big part of that effort. Officer Wheeler, Sergeant Hoffman have put in a gargantuan amount of work towards that, and one of the components that we need in order to efficiently manage the chain of custody for evidence that's brought in is a way for officers to store that evidence securely prior to it being logged into the property and evidence room. In the past, a lot of people have had access to the property and evidence room. That's not how a property and evidence room is supposed to work. In fact, in a best-case situation, I, as chief of police, will not have, nor do I want, access to the property and evidence room. The fewer people coming in and out of there, the fewer the chances for things to go missing, for things to be misplaced, or for defense attorneys to question our chain of custody. So what we're looking to do is to put some secure lockers in the patrol room that would be a temporary storage place for evidence that comes in prior to being checked into the property and evidence room. Typically, in larger agencies, this would be part of or built into the property and evidence room using pass-through type lockers. That's very expensive and will require moving walls and things like that. We don't want to do that. So what we're looking at is a 510 locker setup. So 10 lockers with 5 doors, built-in keys. So an officer comes in with some evidence, let's say he makes a DWI arrest, he's got a blood sample. He would put it into the locker, drop the key inside the locker so that nobody else could get in there. Now you've maintained your chain of custody. And then when somebody with property and evidence responsibility comes into work, they can then take it out, log it into their custody, and then log it into the property and evidence room. So it will clean up some processes that really haven't been optimal and move us more towards that efficiency that we're looking for.
Questions for Chief?
How many officers usually have that kind of responsibility for property evidence?
So technically, it could be any officer. Any call that you go on, you may take in some kind of evidence. If you go out on a fraud call, you may have fake checks, you may have fake IDs, you may have stolen credit cards, things like that. That would need to be checked in. Lately here, we've been tearing it up on DWIs. I don't know if you all noticed, but for this past month, for an agency this small, that's good work. So the blood kit that is, we get a warrant, we get blood, that needs to be stored in our property evidence room for transmittal over to the Garland TPS crime lab for analysis to come back with a blood alcohol content. So I wouldn't say it's a daily use kind of thing, but it's certainly at the very minimum a weekly use kind of thing.
Okay.
All right, I just got a question. How do you take blood? I mean, how do they,
So
I don't like needles, so I'm trying to figure out not that I'm going to be a DWI. Just,
So yeah, that's done by a phlebotomist. So we take them to a hospital, typically
Okay.
in the emergency room,
Okay.
and a registered licensed phlebotomist actually takes the
Okay.
blood. We don't.
I just seeing officers running around with needles all the
Yeah,
time.
we
I'm
don't.
trying to
Yeah,
figure
we
that
don't.
out.
We don't want to be
All
doing
right.
that. We don't.
I volunteered, but I got turned down.
And on another subject, we're going to be having, the PD is sponsoring a blood drive here. If anybody would like to give some blood, you can see that on the website.
But it doesn't go into the evidence room.
It does not. Okay, it does not.
Double check.
Yeah, that was my question. Is that all going to go for evidence?
Right. Other questions? Council, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the request for evidence storage lockers from schoollockers.com in the amount of $2,305.79.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilperson Favero and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Wellen. Lynn, can you please call the vote?
Dr. K?
Aye.
Mr. Dietrich?
Aye.
Ms. Wallen?
Aye.
Mr. Courtney?
Aye.
All right, the item passes. Thank you very much, council.
Thank you, Council.
So we are basically at the end of our meeting here this evening. I want to thank all the citizens online. I want to thank all of the citizens that are here this evening and the input. I want to thank the council, the ordinance committees. But, you know, sometimes I forget that we do have a very small administration. They're all right here. And this is what makes everything go round, and there's a lot of stuff that they do. So Laura, Lynn, and Chris, thank you for all the hard work that you do. It is now 8:36. I won't gavel that one. It is now 8:36. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.